Let's just get started. Greetings. Welcome back if it's you returning to see more of my mess. If it's your first time around, hopefully you like it. I do not show my face. I just show off what I got. Now, on my Instagram, I posted a lot of my stuff I gathered, stuff I bought, stuff I whatever from JoeFest this year. And I watched Legion of Comics JoeFest video, and I'm like, you know what? I realized that I have done videos from my comic unboxings lately, but nothing for my JoeFest grabs. So I figured, let me get into that. I realized I picked up more than I thought I did. So I've been going to JoeFest for this is the 9th year they had it. Next year will be the 10th year. And I keep biting my tongue. Got a problem, excuse me. With the exception of the first year, I've been to every one since, and I've been going to VIPs for the last couple of years. Here's the VIP badge for lanyard from 2024. The VIP lanyard from 2025. And the VIP lanyard from 2026 was two-sided. And there's a 2026 JoeFest pin. First time they've had a pin. Just because it's World Cup and you gotta love Derpy. So now that the little stuff's out of the way, JoeFest, G.I. Joe Themes Comic and Toy Show in Augusta, Georgia, annual. Sergeant Slaughter's always there. Larry Hama, for the most part, is there. I typically go Friday night. I get the exclusive figures that I want because a lot of vendors do exclusive customs and stuff like that. Then maybe one or two artists that I like to get commission work from. Saturday I'll go back and I'll try to get the autographs, and I don't mind standing in line because it's only about 2 hours Friday, but Saturday it's all day, and then Sunday it's a couple hours on Sunday. So let me just show you first off the Larry Hama stuff. Larry, I was first in line because I'm local, Friday night and Saturday, and Friday I did it. I went around, got the exclusive figures that I wanted. Saturday went right to Larry's table, talking to his manager. You know, the Q farms behind me. I'm talking to the guy behind me, and all right, Larry's not shown up yet. So his manager's calling him. He's feeling a little ill. Okay, he misses his panel. Now we're getting a little worried. So the manager's definitely trying to at least make sure he's okay. And you know, all the attendees that kept coming around, and for the manager to keep saying, "I'm sorry, Larry's under the weather. We're hoping he's going to make it." I'm calling him every hour. He actually had a piece of paper and he was taking people's phone numbers, so that if Larry did come down, he was actually going to send a group text out to everybody that was in line. But me and the guy behind me, we stood our ground. I had my little collapsible chair, and he just had a friggin' cart of stuff he wanted to get signed. However, by like 2:30 or so, Larry was a no-show. He canceled for the day. Wasn't wasted, because in between waiting, talking to the manager and talking to the guy behind me, I went and got a few other autographs and whatever. But on Sunday, let me show you what I did grab from Larry's table. Well, first off, this is actually a Saturday grab. It's signed by him, and if you know the storyline, this is actually the IDW run. The Dawn of, I can never pronounce this, Ariskage, I can never pronounce that right. This is when Dawn becomes Snake Eyes in this whole story. But the important thing about this is, it's from Larry's own collection. His manager told us that every time that Larry writes one of the comics, the publisher sends him like 5 copies. So Larry doesn't want to just keep 5 copies of the damn comic that he wrote it. He knows what's going to happen. So he signs them. He's been going to the cons and he's been selling them. So this is actually from Larry's personal collection. Signed by him. Blah, blah, blah. Some of his accolades. There you see him signing it. So that was cool. And then I have the original, but this is the reprint from Skybound Image #1. I picked this up Sunday. Everything that I got from Larry, except for this, because this was actually pre-signed, I had personalized. If you don't know me, I do not get stuff signed to resell. I do stuff for my own personal collection. I do it for the experience between me and whatever guest is there. So everything is going to say to Jeff, me, Larry Hama. But this is also from his personal collection. There's a story behind that, but I can't get into it just because that's kind of between me and the manager. So, if you've ever heard of Action After Review, they have a lot of Kickstarters out. Josh Egbean, Josh, I'm sorry if I did that wrong. He does books of file cards and the history of G.I. Joe. And there's a Kickstarter now, Action After Review. Check them out on Kickstarter. Josh puts these books together. He's on his 4th or 5th volume. It says volume 3, The Cobra Files, but he did one that was all G.I. Joe number 20, the silent issue, a con exclusive. And he saw this cover because he was standing there at the table. He's like, look at this. All right. I haven't seen Josh the last couple of years. I don't mind people looking at my stuff because I'm standing right there. Where's he going to go? He's in the middle of a convention center. First Print Comics, Flower City. He's like, he did not know, if he does not remember, if he actually included this in the 21 issue. The AAR 21 book, which I do have. That's I think the only AAR I backed was the 21 issue. So he took a picture of this. I'm like, hey, maybe you did add it, maybe you didn't. But if not, you got to collect one. This is from the G.I. Joe Compendium Kickstarter last year, I think. It's the foil cover of Andy Huthbert. See right there. Hubert. And I love how Larry just signed across the sword. A Storm Shadow. So, G.I. Joe Special number 1. The Todd McFarlane homage. Reprint. And again, personalized with snake eyes, blah, blah, blah. This is the kickstart between Marvel and IDW. Is 155.5. Free comic book day. So, that's the G.I. Joe stuff. If you don't know me, I like to go eclectic. I think outside the box, if not very, very, adjacent to it. James Bond for Your Eyes Only. Larry wrote the James Bond 2-issue for Your Eyes Only comic. I got them both, and I had them signed. Me and my father used to watch James Bond all the time. This is obviously one of the Roger Moore movies. But not just that stuff. Larry Hama also wrote Weapon X during the Age of Apocalypse. He wrote Bat Thing for Amalgam. Amalgam needs to have a comeback. I have very strong feelings about this. I want Dark Claw. I want Man Thing. I want Super Soldier. I want all these guys. Years ago, I had my Dark Claw signed by Larry. Larry also did that one too. And a little more eclectic here. We got Bucky O'Hare. Not really eclectic, but I just remember something else I had him sign. So he kind of co-created, or he wrote this one. He didn't co-create this book. Maybe he did. This is really out of nowhere. He wrote Barack the Barbarian, which I thought was just funny. I have to stop for 1 minute because there's one other thing I had Larry Hama sign for me. Wait a minute. All right. Not that you noticed, but I stepped out for about a minute or two. Larry Hama co-created Spider-Ham. So he had the Sharpie in his hand. He was just signing. When he got to the pop, he did not switch out to a paint pen. It was first thing in the morning. I know he just got over being sick. Can I fault him? Yes and no. I mean, the guy's in his mid-70s, but it's not like he knows that Sharpie doesn't go on plastic. It's in a case, but still, Sharpie does not write on plastic. But it's not G.I. Joe. It's other properties and things like that. So, other G.I. Joe stuff I did get signed, though. When IDW was finishing their run, starting around 66, Robert Atkins is the artist there. Robert Atkins did this cover. This is actually a retailer exclusive. The original cover has the red mask. Here's another Death of Snake Eyes, going back to before Dawn took over, signed by Brian Cheer. So while I was doing First in Line Friday and Saturday, they had a lot of podcast guys in the vestibule, along with some of the vendors. So when you're going up to get your ticket and going up to get to the door, all the podcast people, one of the biggest ones was Talking Joe. Two British guys, an international podcast. We're going around. You want to pause that? That's some of their stuff right there. Gonna get that in the middle. And they gave a little, little da-da. But the cool thing about this is there was two bookmarks. Cobra, Yo Joe. So if you recognize just this scene, you're a Joe fan. But I recognize this because not only is it the art of Jamie Sullivan, this is actually taken from Jamie Sullivan's cover for the 300 issue, the last one that IDW did before Image and Skybound took over. Well, Image at least. Of course, Duke punching Joe. There's AAR. But including with this is like a little mystery blind bag. So there's 5 issues of special missions in here. I got that one on Friday. I was the first one Saturday. They gave me this one, which was like a 1 in 10 or 1 in 25. I do not think this is the A cover. So there's that. So that's kind of the initial Joe stuff out of the way. Walking around, After Action Review, I backed a Kickstarter for Disavowed. Josh Blaylock, years ago, who is the creator, owner, kind of president of Devil Deuce Studios, Devil Deuce Comics. Disavowed, it's basically like a modern retelling or an alternate version of G.I. Joe meets like The Boys or Walking Dead or something like that. 5 issues. As soon as I heard about it, when talking to Josh a couple years ago at JoeFest, I went to my LCS, threw it on the list, back to Kickstarter. Sadly, Josh was not there this year, but this is AAR's con exclusive issue 1. Let me see, issue 1 exclusive cover. So I talked to Josh. I had to get this. So let me get into some of the other stuff. Being a Superman guy, not Superman, Spider-Man. Some Spider-Men, not all Spider-Men. I like 2099. Back in the 90s, it came out. What was different about him was not just his attitude. I didn't read the series, but I liked the spider skull icon on the chest. Well, one of the guys that they had at the con was the voice of not only Spider-Man in Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, one of the most popular Spider-Man cartoons when I was growing up, but he also did the voice of Spidey 2099 from the Shattered Dimensions video game. So I had the Spider-Man 2099 pop. Dan, I can't remember his name, but he was the voice of Spider-Man in Shattered Dimensions video game. So at least he did the paint pen. He knew. He signed it in pen and said, look, I already know. I'm going to let it sit outside the case for a while. What else? Went upstairs because I knew about some of these pins. I like pins, enamel pins, and if you spend so much, you got a free little mystery Lego. And I'm going to explain that to a minute. So, who's my favorite Joe? Joe or Cobra? Zartan. But it's Zartaner because it's G.I. Jokes. I asked the guy, has GBK, Garbage Pail Kids, ever got with you or went against you, lawsuit? He said he actually worked for Garbage Pail Kids and he came up with these years ago, and he had a choice to make, and he took his own route. So he's been making these for years. So we got Zartaner, Zartan ripoff. We have Jim and I, Zamox and Tomat. And if you bought any of the G.I. Joe ones, you got a free Crocmaster. I can't remember the Croc's name, but that's kind of cool. Looking like a Bane-ish meets Juggernaut. And of course I had to get Elmer Street Freddy Krueger. Gloving the sheep so people can't count to fall asleep. But the other cool thing is he had a whole box of G.I. Jokes stickers. Full-size cards, series 1 through 3. I haven't opened it, but you can see there's 90 cards in there. And it's the whole series. It's the whole set. There's, what does it say? Commander Brandon. So, and because I bought more than $75, this is a whole set for all 3 series were $50. I think the pins were 10 or 15 each. I think it was 10 each. So I'm going through all the mystery minis. JoeFest mystery mini G.I. Jokes signed by the guy who put them together. I picked up a little G.I. Joke, because that's supposed to be a ripoff of him scratching his behind his ear of Cobra Commander. So they got that little pickup. I think these were neat. I saw these on one of the, I think, Facebook or Instagram posts. They didn't come back or anything like that, so I have to put them in my own bag. But what we have is the Baroness as superheroes and villains. We have a Supergirl Baroness with file card. We have a Batgirl Baroness with file card. We have a Joker Baroness with file card. And yes, a Harley Baroness with file card. File card. I just realized that's from Joanna exclusives. These are actually leftovers. But this is my first time seeing them, so I had to grab them. File cards. Supergirl. Supergirl Baroness with an assortment of guns and a shield. And she looks nice. The paint job, whatever this is, she came out really nice. Little backpack there. So I said, Batgirl. Here's the Batgirl. Again, with an assortment of weapons and a shield. He had to go through because these were actually, some of these were bags, some of them were like that. But he said not all of them came with shields, and he wanted to make sure that I had a complete set. So, the Batgirl, the Joker one, again, the backpack, the assortment of weapons, the shield, it says haha on it. And of course, the Harley. So, those were cool. I forget the company that did them. Extensive Enterprise exclusives. What I like is that each card actually matches kind of the character it's supposed to represent. So that's on the side right there. Oh, being a VIP, I always get the figure. And this year's figure was ratioed. I talked to the guy who put them together. His name is Ed. And put JoeFest together. And he actually makes these figures himself. I think that's what he told me one year. But anyway, he only did 25 this year. And there was a 1 of 1. There were 1 of 4. 2 1 of 5s. And then a 1 of 10. So 1 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 10, 25. Well, it's Latimer. I think that's how you say his name. And I recognize the art because it's the same one that was on the VIP badge. But I also recognize the signature because this is the guy that I go to every year, Jason Sobel. I knew Jason was at the show, so I actually had him sign it in marker. So, it was supposed to be just a luck shot. You know, Ed was busy running around when they first opened the doors. So, kind of, if you got the VIP, you were just kind of supposed to pick one. I was first, so they kind of let me go through a little bit. I did not see the 1 of 1. I just pulled the next one in line, and I got lucky enough to get the 1 of 4. So basically, I didn't get the first best ratio, but I got the second best next ratio. I looked up on Google Latimer, and apparently this is a character, and there's a whole story about him sailing out to Cobra to save his men. I admit I never read all the comics, so don't come at me. But that was the VIP figure. The VIP figure for this year, and it was ratioed because it's 25th anniversary, 250th. I don't know why I said 25th, 250th. So a lot of them were different variations of red, white, and blue, shirt, vest, and pants, and everything like that. So, again, I did not get the 1 of 1, but I got 1 of 4, and I'm happy with it, because it just looks cool. Up next. Skeletron. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah, Skeletron. Skeletron, make 3 3/4 inch. So here we have codename Yeti, who's their weapon supplier. In this universe, think of him as the Zartan. So he's masked up there. He has his little claws, and he has everything there. And if you're in a G.I. Joe community, if you've been to JoeFest, this guy should look familiar. Let me move the second one up behind. Because on the back of the card, you see who it actually is. Even though the file card and the regular card are the same character, on the back they show the actual person. By the way, these are signed by the guy who did the art, Doug Hart. But this year's exclusive wasn't just Yeti, but it was Unmasked Yeti. Unmasked Yeti is a guy named Aaron Roma, who sadly passed away a year and a half ago. Very big, very popular, very just one of the most kind-hearted people in the G.I. Joe community. He was always at cons. He was just, if you talk to Aaron for any amount of time, you realized what an exceptional man he was. So, of course, I had to get the masked one just because, and I had to get the unmasked just because it was the exclusive. And it was a beautiful way to pay homage to a great man in the community, Skeletron. And what made me laugh is unmasked here, unmasked on the file card, but here's, you would think that it would be unmasked on the file card, on the back art, and on the front, but they actually mixed it up a little bit. So it's interesting. Regular and exclusive, put them out of the way. One of the biggest guys I went to, and I was keeping track of this guy. Last year, Seth Green was there, and during the panel, somebody asked Seth, if you were a G.I. Joe character, what would your character's name be? What would you do in G.I. Joe universe? And he said, my name would be Short Fry, and I would be a short order cook, and all this other stuff. And it became a running joke. But it became more than a joke because he actually became a figure. In the Strike Force Alpha universe, Culinary Commando, Short Fry, based on actor Seth Green. This is the common. Green shirt, blue pants. He actually comes with a grill, a rifle, a burger, a steak, an assortment of hands. You have closed fists and like the salute karate chop, and a bionic arm. File card was very redacted a little bit. But this is the common. The show exclusive had a black shirt and purple pants. It's Seth Green. I was there at the panel. I was there when this character took birth. Basically, what they did was change the color, but it's still, because Seth couldn't be there this year, he was able to sign a few of them, and I got Matthew LaCroix, who is the man behind this. His name should be on here somewhere. Matthew LaCroix, follow Matthew LaCroix Toys. There it is, LaCroix Toys. On Facebook, follow him on Instagram. Matthew's Matthew, if you want a custom figure made of a 3 3/4 inch, I cannot speak. 3 3/4 inch figure, Matthew's the guy to go to. Matthew can, if you can think of a figure, Matthew can make it. If there's a figure from any movie, anything that you think about, Matthew can make it. Last year they made Fumbles, and that was a whole other thing about Robot Chicken that Seth Green did. So a reboot, if you will, a alternate take on Fumbles is Dr. Killshot. Basically, I like how they did the Fumbles Fanta soda, but basically this is just the Fumbles in purple, but he's Dr. Killshot now. So I loved them. Some of them I didn't want to take out. I was supposed to go back for this, but there was some issues for me on my side. But I was able to go back and get a second common. So he says Kiss the Cook. I got the robotic arm on him. And he's been standing here next to my computer desk, my little bookcase here, watching over everything. I can't say enough kind things about Matthew. Matthew is a big guy with a big heart, and he knows how to make 3 3/4 inch O-ring figures like it's nobody's business. So I got my 2 con exclusives, and I got my common and my kill shot together. If you need to know a little more, Strike Force Alpha with Jason. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I apologize. Matthew LaCroix. White Elephant Toys. Check them out. I think they're actually the go-to for LaCroix Toys and a lot of others. White Elephant Toys with a Z. So there you go. Samantha Newark. She's been there as Jem for the last couple of years. And where did I put that? Okay. A couple years ago, I had my Jem Pop signed. And I had a blank Jem cover. And I asked Miss Samantha, I said, if I bring in a blank cover, do you think you could draw the character? And she said, yeah, I'll give it a try. So we agreed on a price, and I brought the Saturday. It was this Friday night. a couple years ago. I brought in a blank cover, brought in a box of colored pencils. Of course, she's a guest at the con, so I'm not expecting her to finish it because she's not a professional artist. But before she left, she took my email, and when she finished it, she said, hey, I finished the cover. Let me know where to mail it to. So this is not from this year, but a couple years ago from Samantha Newark, voice actress for Jem, Drew, Jem and Jerica. That's her signature. She glittified it. I don't know if I can kind of catch the glitter on there. But she colored in the edges. You kind of see that it was pink. She colored it in. She did the background. This is a beautiful job because if you really look close at you can see there's the glitter. There's the sparkle. She got Synergy, the earring in there. I loved this. And when she saw me walk by Friday or Saturday, she says, I remember you. I know you. And I explained this. I reminded her of this. And even her manager's like, I remember that. So I brought this back with me Saturday, and I had her sign. Well, I want to show her, remind her. But I had her sign my Ariel Transformers. Because she was the voice of Ariel, who became Alita 1. To Jeff, love Ariel. Of course, Samantha's signature. And there's Ariel. Not to be confused with Arcee. They are two different characters. But Ariel E there, everybody else spells it with an A. It's just our typical spelling. So, got that signed by Samantha. And of course, she loves seeing that again. I gave her a little keychain from my Army days I brought back from one of my deployments. And just said Operation Iraq, Enduring Freedom. It wasn't big. But she was so grateful that I gave it to her. I told her, I've told her before, but I remind her, I was in the military. It was one of my times from being overseas, Middle East. And she put it right away in her key ring. And she showed me a Barry Bostwick keychain with him from the floor show on Rocky Horror. So that led me to the whole other story about me getting on stage with Barry Bostwick, Brad Majors, from the touring show of Rocky Horror here in Augusta 2 years ago. And I brought up the video and I showed her, let her up on my phone, showed her the video of me and Barry Bostwick on stage when he was doing a leg lift. And it was just beautiful how, she appreciates not just Barry Bostwick as a performer, but also the Rocky Horror Show. And it was a whole round circle. Here are my favorite takeaways. So, like I said, Jason Sobel, the artist that I always go to every year to get some commissions done. Transformers G.I. Joe. Growing up in the 80s, everybody had a boombox, so my favorite character was Soundwave. He was also the spy. Being the fact that later on in life, I was an intel guy, quote unquote. I was actually technically not getting into it, but, the whole just the spy thing, Secret Squirrel was the joke. I say, Transformers and G.I. Joe, can you do Soundwave and Zartan? If you actually see the original line work he did, which I love watching this because I don't do full colors. I just like color splashes because to me it pops more. But you can see the size differential of Zartan to Shockwave. Soundwave, not Shockwave, Soundwave. It's beautiful. I always love Jason's work. That was the first one he did. I said, hey Jay, how about Lex in the power suit, green power suit? He did it. Color splash of the kryptonite green coming out behind him. Beautiful. Again, you can always still see the line work. I love that he leaves that in there. Kind of gives him a guide to follow. And he knocks these out in an hour or so. I mean, he does beautiful work. Lex in a power suit with the glowing kryptonite green. The last one I had him do this year, Dawn of DC. Again, kind of the 90s thing. I was a fan of the electric blue. And he kind of nailed this. He actually had, it's almost like a whiteout that he did. I don't even know if it was a paint pen or white, but it almost like it's glow in the dark. It's just, this is why I love Jason's work. The joke one was he didn't want to do this. He kind of, when I told him my idea to find this, he's like, just stop right there. Invisible Man. I literally just had him sign it. I said, that's such an inside joke because I see it. He got it right away, and I love that he got the sense of humor because it's the Invisible Man, but he did the artwork. And I'm at 30 minutes. Holy shit! So this is a lot. I didn't realize I actually got this much. Oh, there's one other piece. So Jason, if you know Bobby Valla, Action Force. He was the toy kind of creator for Hasbro, and he did a lot of Marvel lines and stuff like that. Well, he also, years ago, did a mashup of a Transformer and G.I. Joe, and he called it Acid Bat. Jason was doing a sale on some of his original art. And I'm going through his portfolio, and I see this. And I recognize Bobby's signature, because I've had other stuff signed by Mr. Valla. I said, that's incredible. He went to the store. He's like, somebody came up to Bobby, asked him to do a mashup. He came up with this. Bobby drew the art, but Jason is the one that colored it. He's like, and that's an original piece, too. I did this. Not in front of him, but I mean, I know Jason's not going to lie to me. You can see this as an original piece, because you can see how the color soaks through. It's not a reprint. Jason didn't sign this because all he did was the color. Not all he did. I mean, he did a beautiful job coloring this. But this is a Bobby Valla, Jason Sobel original print for Acid Bat, which became, I looked it up, and it was a JoeFest exclusive years ago. There was only about 10 of them made. And I really wish I could find one, because I would love to own one of these exclusive JoeFest figures from probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and have the original artwork to go with the figure itself. That is it. I'm going to leave this up here because I just love that. I love this piece. From Bobby Valla. Oh my God. From Larry Hama. I'm tired, y'all. I feel like a child. I'm fighting sleep right now. I should be taking a nap. From Larry Hama to Jason Sobel, Samantha Newark, Matthew LaCroix, the Skeletron guys, Aaron Roma, rest in peace, sir. Thank you so much for all the memories and everything you've done for the community. Robert Atkins, Brian Shear, Dan, the guy who did the voice of Spider-Man. I can't remember your last name. I know it begins with the G. It's like Gil Van Nat or something like that. Dan, thank you. And Seth Green, of course, thank you for being the inspiration for a new member of Strike Force Alpha. And with that, I am going to say until next time, y'all. Godspeed. I'm out.